What's up, my beautiful cosmic family members and friends? This is my very first video of 2018. I honestly had not intended upon re-uploading or making new videos until March, but I am being divinely pushed to put this video out on this day because it is being divinely guided. It is a divine impression. And whenever I get a divine impression, I must move upon it because obviously it must be put in place at this particular moment and time for a greater reason. I am going to share some views and perspectives and revelations that I have not seen a lot of people sharing. A lot of people are opting to look at the subliminal, the symbology, and I'm more or less looking at it from a historical and metaphysical and ethereal perspective. I'm not going to get into the political aspect of the film. That can be an entire video in itself. But I want to talk about why this film is resonating so much all over the world. I have seen the movie. I have to go back and see it again because when I went to see it, the volume wasn't at a good level and it was really hard to hear. And with the actor speaking with an accent, the accent made it very difficult to make out certain points. So I'm going to see it again, but I do have the gist of the film. And let me say that as a person who is having the experience of a heavily melanated male, this is the kind of film that I have always wanted to see. I have always been one of those people who have stated that we need to see more films that show us being heroes to the world, show us being otherworldly and beyond these ridiculous, mundane stereotypes of being a coon, being a comedian, being a hoe, a thug, being an idiot, being a slave. As far as I'm concerned, I am over it. It is time to progress our consciousness, and it starts with elevating our thought process of what is possible and tapping into our greatest potential now and projecting that forward. Many people talk about how Wakanda is this fictional world. For the movie, it is fictional. But as I've always stated, these movies always tell us what has happened, is happening, or will happen in some form or another. This film, although it's fictional, does not mean that we are not looking at truth and history and what is right within our reach in plain sight. Now, what if I were to tell you that there is such a place on Earth or within the Earth plane that is on the level of a Wakanda, if not greater? This would be, of course, the equivalent of a utopian society or heaven on earth. And of course, when one achieves such a civilization, it would make total sense to shield or hide this civilization away from a greater society that is still at a fallen, sunken place and is still struggling to put the pieces of the puzzle together to reclaim or to achieve or rebuild a Wakandian-like society or world. Now, again, what if I were to tell you that such a place exists? And what if I were to tell you that such a place has existed before we found ourselves where we are now? There is no doubt in my mind whatsoever that we had a Wakandian type of society right here within these earth spheres and planes of existence. These planes of existence exist within existence. May not necessarily be here, but there are different variations and versions of these worlds. This is why this movie is resonating so much, because on a deeper core level, we see our home in that. We see the remembrance of the greatness that we were before we had fallen from grace. We long to get back to that place. And what they show us in the movie is that all of these different tribes with different ideas and way of going about doing things, different, yes, but they all came together with equal stakes in the sustenance, the thrivability, and greatness of that civilization. So there was no warring necessary. The fighting was no longer. One of the most powerful scenes, and again, truth in plain sight, was where the father of the character Black Panther and his brother was in an apartment in America, and something went down. I'm not going to give any spoilers here. Something went down, and when the father left the scene, there are those on the ground level witnessing this in awe. From their perspective, this is a UFO or an alien ship. Unbeknownst to those on the ground, this is really a ship from a world that is shielded or veiled off from the greater society. Now, if this is not another example of truth put in plain sight, I want y'all to really simmer in that one. So let me move on. Another powerful scene for me is when the king and those who make it to the throne are given this concoction that's made from this purple, beautiful flower that would shift their consciousness and put them on the plane of the ancestors, where they can interface and interact and get wisdom from the ancestors who have gone before us. This right here is in plain sight, speaking and showing us the astral plane. Case in point, I had done this video years ago depicting a being that I had seen during an astral experience. Now, when I made the video, I was cautiously sharing information because I already knew then, as I still do know now, there are just some things that is just not ready to be shared. And I'm going to figure out a way to share information with people who are mature enough and ready and advanced in their understanding, who can get it and who can receive it and dissect it and respect it, than to just put it out in the general domain for people who just aren't ready for it and really don't deserve to know, because they're not developmentally ready. And I'm not being condescending, that's just the truth. But anyway, getting back to my point. These beings, as I described in the video, they were very, very tall, very, very dark, black, African in appearance. I remember looking at their noses and thinking, wow, they had very Jewish-like noses. And of course, these beings are highly telepathic. They can hear and see all of who we are. They can hear what we're thinking and so on and so forth. And I was acutely aware of this. These guys were giving me a tour astrally of their starship. And when I tell you that these beings had technology that, if were revealed to the world, that would seem otherworldly, this is why, again, when I watch that movie, I'm looking at it through totally different lens. I don't view the world through average eyes. I never had. Being born with the veil of sight and discernment, and to have had all of these otherworldly experiences, there's no way I can look at these things the same way as someone who is still asleep, or someone who has forgotten who and what he or she really is. These beings that I'm talking about, who had and are running a Wakandian type society, they come in and out of this reality, and they, for whatever reason, meet with those of us who are here. And there are many reasons, and I can give those reasons, but that'll get too far from the point of this video, where they share information. In my situation, it was known that I would create a platform to speak about who and what we are and what we are truly capable of, and how the dark side has planted through fear, dogma, indoctrination, misogyny, fear, demonization, all these different factors that has lent to programming us to fear and reject the kind of information that people such as myself bring forth. So yes, there are highly advanced people who are very dark, who have access to highly advanced technology. You can take the best technology we have on Earth and it will appear primitive in comparison. This movie is really crashing a lot of heavily indoctrinated programming that has been going on in this planet. So you see the reaction to demonize and attack this movie. But we are coming into a time when the people are putting the pieces of the puzzle together and recalling who and what we really are, what we are truly connected to, where we have fallen from or what we have fallen from, and what must be done to reclaim our rightful thrones. All right, that's all I have to say on this subject matter. I'm not going to start regularly uploading video until March. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe because I'm going to share some views and revelations that you will not find anywhere. Thank you all so much for your time. And those who have been with me for the long haul, thank you so much for your loyalty and continued support.